Okay, everyone, we're here live for the Google Hangout at the Dr. C. Richard Beckett Animal Science Building here at the University of Findlay at our farm. We are here in the building in the lobby area of the barn, and after the hangout, we will take a little virtual tour of the actual barn where the animals are, so stick around. I'm going to hand it over to Dr. McCarthy, and he's going to introduce himself, and Caroline, one of our students, so they can tell us a little bit more about the program. Feel free to type in some questions on the Google Plus page here or via Twitter at @UFindlay, and you can use hashtag AskUF. That's hashtag ASKUF. So Dr. McCarthy, go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Dr. McCarthy. I'm the chairman of the department. The department is the Department of Animal Science. And we basically have three options. Our most popular is the pre-vet option. And then we have a science option. And we have an industry option. So we have a little bit of everything for typical students that are interested in animal science.
Hello, my name's Caroline. I'm a senior here at the University of Findlay. I am in the pre-veterinary program, so I'm majoring in animal science and biology.
Okay, Caroline, go ahead and tell us what you like most about the program.
Okay, so I grew up in a suburb of Chicago, and then I came here to Findlay, Ohio. So this was a big transition for me because growing up right outside Chicago, I hadn't really ever seen food animals before. I'd been to horse camp and stuff like that. But coming here to this program really allowed me to gain that crucial hands-on experience and really, learn about the food animal industry and stuff like that. So, I definitely loved my practical animal handling classes freshman year. And then more recently, my junior year, I got to intern with Dr. Kearns, who is one of the veterinarians here. And through that internship, I actually got a job. So now I'm one of his teaching assistants, and I get to work with the freshmen during the animal handling classes and show them how to do, procedures and stuff and handle the animals, which is great. And that's an experience that I don't think I would have gotten somewhere else. So I'm really thankful for that.
Good. Dr. McCarthy, speaking of animal science jobs, why don't you tell us a little bit more about the type of careers that students can expect, not only if they choose pre-vet, but also the animal science options?
Well, of course, the goal for the pre-vet option students is to get into vet school. And a fair number are going to be competitive in that process. But in addition to going to vet school, we try to provide a breadth of experiences for those students that get a degree in animal science and look at a different career path other than veterinary medicine. The science option provides a little more of a technical background, so those students can work in the industry portion that requires a fair amount of technology. The industry option, we try to place students into production type of job tracks, but we also provide some business aspects so that they can work in the agribusiness industry in general.
We do have a question. Hana Mae is interested in finding out the time spent in the classroom versus time spent in the barn. Do you spend more time in the classroom, more time in the barn, or is it equal?
You spend a little more time in the classroom. You will have classes out at the barn, but every class out at the barn does have an in-class portion, so you can learn about what you're going to be doing with the animals before you actually go out and do it. So freshman year, you spend a lot of time working directly with the animals in the animal handling classes, and then sophomore year, you can go on and take production classes, which will have you out at the barn too. And Dr. McCarthy teaches a few of those production classes, so he knows more about that than I do.
Yeah, generally speaking, if you were to look at kind of the division between time commitments with in-class and out in the barn, it's probably somewhere around 75-25. It may be a little more in the classroom. And most of that is getting information so that you understand what's going on in terms of animal handling or some of the production classes or some of the other more applied topic area classes that we have.
Caroline, why don't you tell us what drew you to the University of Findlay? Was it a visit? Was it some contact with a counselor? How did you find the University of Findlay, and what, I guess, put University of Findlay over other schools?
Okay, I found the University of Findlay on an online college search website, and I was really interested in it because it looked like what I wanted. I'd done my research, and I knew that most students that apply and get accepted to that school major in something like animal science, and I knew that I wanted a smaller school, and so the University of Findlay, on paper, offered me everything I wanted. My dad and I came down to visit, and we loved it, so that was it for me.
Good. Dr. McCarthy, I know you do a lot with the beef show team and the South Down sheep show team. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about those show teams, and maybe, Caroline, you can talk to some other club and organization options that are available as well.
Yeah, we have a number of students that are interested, though they may not have a lot of experience showing cattle or showing sheep. They're interested in that hands-on type of environment. So we actually had close to 80 students that were interested this fall in working with the show cattle, and most of them have stuck it out through the entire semester. We start sometime in early September working with the show cattle. Our goal in the fall is to get cattle ready to go to the show in Louisville, Kentucky at the North American International Livestock Exposition, and we'll show 12 there, and we actually go down in a week from tomorrow to try to get our cattle ready and then show on Thursday. So a lot of students are interested in doing that. The show team for the sheep, it's a little smaller, not as many interested in sheep or as experienced in sheep, but we show at several sales in the spring, and then the Ohio State Fair is probably our highlight of the summer. Where this year we were actually the premier exhibitor for the Ohio State Fair as an Ohio breeder. So it's something that gives students experience in some areas where they may not have any experience at all. And then for others that just enjoy doing that have been 4-Hers or FFA members that have worked with showing livestock, this is another opportunity for them to be active.
And we have one of the largest herds in the country, yes?
Pretty large. For low line, we have low line Angus cattle, and which is basically an Angus breed that has been selected for a little smaller size. They were part of a research project in Australia, and when that research project was over, they dispersed the herd, and probably in the last 15 years is when most of those cattle have been imported into the United States. They work great for us with some of our limited acreage and space that we're able to run a fair number of cows. And we are at least the largest herd of registered full-bloods east of the Mississippi.
So Caroline, tell us about what you've been involved in as far as clubs and organizations go. I mean, animal science-wise, pre-vet-wise, and maybe anything outside of that as well.
Okay, so starting my freshman year, I got involved in the Pre-Veterinary Medicine Club, obviously. I've gone on to become the treasurer of that club, and I love it. It's the largest club on campus. We have over 300 members, so it's a big commitment. We take a spring trip every year, and we visit a vet school. So I've gotten to visit North Carolina Vet School and Lincoln Memorial, which is newer. We're planning on Michigan or Iowa for this year. I'm also involved in our chapter of Habitat for Humanity, which is great because it gives you a lot of outside service activities and stuff like that. It's always great to be involved, and I really like those opportunities. We also have a great Serving Abroad program. So I applied, and over winter break, I'm going to get to go to the Dominican Republic to serve with some of my fellow students and faculty over there, which will be great. We also have, a bunch of other clubs and honor societies, and it's pretty easy to get involved, and it really makes a difference to have something else other than just academics.
We have a couple of questions. So we have a question via Twitter from Veronica. She's wondering, what are some of the classes that freshmen can expect to take in the pre-veterinary medicine program? What kind of classes have you taken?
Well, all of our freshmen will take basically the same animal science classes, and that'll be an intro to animal science. And then we offer an animal handling class that specializes in food animals, and an animal handling class that specializes in equine. So all of our freshmen will take those 3 classes during their freshman year. The rest of the time is spent either taking some general education classes or, more importantly, all the chemistry and math that is required to be accepted in vet school. So they'll be taking about 5 semesters of chemistry and at least 2 semesters of math, and it usually starts their freshman year.
Did you want to add anything to that, Caroline?
Ooh, I don't think so. I think you got it.
Yeah, good. Well, Nora is asking a question on Google+, and she's wondering, what are the study abroad options like, and how easy or realistic is it to double major, specifically in animal science and English equestrian? So maybe talk about study abroad first, and then we'll get to her double major question.
Okay. I know we have a lot of study abroad options. We have some for Costa Rica and then like all the way over to London. I think it can be kind of difficult with the animal science major to study abroad. Would you agree?
To some degree, yeah.
Okay. Definitely like summer programs would be an option or something like that. And double majoring, I mean, it's doable. I'm double majoring in animal science and biology. I think you'll find the equestrian programs take up a lot of your time, but I think some students do that.
Yeah, a fair number of students will start with a double major with the equestrian program. It is a very time-consuming program. They ride 5 days a week, and normally that block of time is at least 3 hours a day. It really takes away from a lot of other activities here on campus, particularly the academics. It takes a student that's very, very disciplined and very organized to be able to manage that time commitment for both of the programs. I guess most of those students that start out with a double major in those 2 programs do not normally finish with a double major because of the time commitment.
What would be some other dual major options that you see a lot of students take up that maybe help them in their career path?
Well, I think the easiest program right now to double major, if you're a pre-vet option or a science option, might be biology. Although I don't know that it's that easy. It is the easiest option. If you're in the industry option, either a minor in business or in some cases a double major with a business degree is very feasible for students to be able to consider and complete.
I think some students also like animal science and journalism. I know a few of my friends that are doing that. You know, Jordan.
And what are they?
Willis.
Yeah.
What's their career goal with that? Are they wanting to work for an animal science publication? Are they wanting to?
It's a great question.
Yeah. Dr. McCarthy, have you had any advisees who have gone that route?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not. I've had some that have done communications,
Mm-hmm.
But I think that journalism, communications, both of those majors probably lend more towards either working for a publication or working in some mass media outlet in the ag sector.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen many students, I know we have a few alums who are working for like the FDA or meat regulatory agencies. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, the Ohio Department of Agriculture is what most of the plants in this state are inspected by. There are some federally inspected plants, but most of the plants, if they're in Ohio are probably going to use ODA as their inspecting service. We've had several graduates that have worked and are working in the Ohio Department of Ag's inspection service. The federal vets, or federal inspection, is normally a veterinarian, so that's an opportunity for those. There is some sharing of personnel between federal and state vets at times, depending on what the plants are and what their capacity would be.
We have a couple more questions. Hana Mae is wondering, are there any equine-related classes that you can take within the pre-vet major?
Yes, there definitely are. Your freshman year, you will take equine handling, where you work with the horses and learn how to, give injections and draw blood and all of that stuff. Then you can also take more advanced classes. They have techniques of equine reproduction and a couple other classes like that, as well as horse production. So you can definitely get your hands-on time with the horses without being in an equestrian program.
We have another question wondering about AP credits. Can you skip some of the general classes as a freshman if you have AP credits, specifically biology and chemistry?
I took some AP classes in high school, and I got to waive out of Introduction to Biology and a psychology class. I'm not sure. I didn't take AP Chemistry, so maybe you could.
Yes. I guess the short answer is if you score high enough to get AP credit, it goes towards some of those classes. I think there are a few classes that vet schools would prefer to have students actually take at a college. So if it's AP credit, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're as capable of handling some of the classes. But generally speaking, AP credits transfer in without any difficulty at all.
Good. What about transfer credits? Can you guys maybe talk a little bit more about if you know any transfer students, Caroline, and if you've advised any transfer students?
Yeah, we actually have quite a few. Transferring in, if you take a lot of the general education classes, those transfer in pretty seamlessly. If you're transferring in from a junior college, some of the courses that are taken as an associate degree program are a little more difficult to transfer in, but we try to accommodate them as best we can, given what our requirements are. But for the most part, students that are transferring in anywhere from just a handful of credits to 2 years, we've tried to accommodate without usually extending the time that they're in school by very much at all. We try to really accommodate them.
We have another question from Darcy, wondering what classes do I need to excel in high school for pre-vet?
Ooh, I mean, I don't think there's any one class that you need to excel in high school to be good in this program. In high school, I did not like science. I was not a fan of chemistry. I did like biology, but it wasn't like in high school I was all about science and got A+ and all of that to be good in this program. The program is heavily weighted towards science, so once I got here, I did realize, oh, this is a lot of science, but it was fine and all of that.
Yeah, the science-based classes are the ones that you need to do well in. If you're not very good, even if you don't like it, if you're good, you'll do fine at college level classes. But if you are not very strong in the sciences, it'll be a struggle.
Okay. Madeline is wondering, are there any classes offered to introduce students to the care of exotic or wild animals?
Not too much. There are always opportunities to take internships for credit, either over the summer or something like that. I had an internship this past summer where I worked with the Ohio Wildlife Center, and I got a lot of hands-on experience with wildlife and the more exotic animals, which I love, but I don't think there's too much exotic here.
And I think we've had a couple other students, and I think a student who graduated and went, she's working at Walt Disney World now, I think, working with the elephants there or giraffes, or I did an alumni profile on her, and she's down in Disney World working with the exotic animals down there. So, I mean, it can lead to a career path, and I don't know if Dr. McCarthy, you can talk more about that.
Yeah, we don't focus on exotic animals. There's certainly a lot of information that can be extrapolated from the classes that we teach. Anywhere from nutrition, reproduction to just general management production classes you can extrapolate. But for the most part, we do not have any classes that cover exotic animals in any kind of depth.
Nora has another question, wondering, do the students have an opportunity to participate in FFA while at the University of Findlay?
We actually have a college FFA chapter, and obviously most of the members have been in FFA as a high school student, and they do some activities, some of them by themselves and some of them with some of the other animal science clubs that we have. We have a block and bridle club, and of course the pre-vet club, so they do some joint activities as well as some of them by themselves, but they do quite a bit for the FFA chapter.
Good. Caroline, why don't you tell us a little more about your experience with getting into vet schools? I know you had just said that you received some information recently about vet schools. So tell us more about that process. If you've had any assistance with that, how it's gone for you, and if it's gone smoothly, what can you tell them about the application process?
So the application process is pretty simple and straightforward. The website that vet schools like you to use to apply is really user-friendly. I was pretty thorough with my application, so it did take me a while. I applied pretty much all summer and submitted my applications just before school started. Once you submit your applications, you generally don't hear back for a while. We don't really expect to hear anything until maybe late November, early December. I was pretty surprised. I've already heard back from one school, and I'm interviewing there in January, which is pretty exciting. And then I expect to hear back from the other schools, a little bit later. But I'm pretty excited for my interview in January, and I'm starting to prepare and think about that a little bit more.
Good. Now, Dr. McCarthy, I want to talk to you more about students who maybe get here and they decide, vet school might not be for me, or maybe they don't get into vet school. What are some options for those students, and how do we help steer them in the right direction?
Well, it's much easier to help steer them in the right direction if they make the decision before they graduate. So we have some options that they can follow through on. The science option is designed for those those students that are interested in science-based types of career paths. So usually pretty technical types of jobs that may be involved some lab work or some basic types of science. The industry option is quite different, and for those students, that transition is relatively smooth, except for the business classes that they may need to take once they've decided that maybe vet school is not what they want to do. Then the industry option is certainly one of those popular options for those students, in part because of there's less science involved and more business. And if you like hands-on types of jobs, those are probably the jobs that are going to materialize from an industry option type of a career path.
Great. Speaking of career paths, can we talk a little bit more about networking and what opportunities students have here on campus for finding internships and finding jobs? How do we help them with that process?
Well, for finding internships and stuff like that, we have the Office of Internships and Placements. They're great. They can answer any questions that you might have. I know I used them this summer just to talk about gaining credit for the internship that I was doing. That was something that I had found on my own, but discovered that I could get credit for it. And so I coordinated that with that office. But otherwise, just really getting to know your faculty and your instructors, talking to them, that really, really helps. get you jobs or just opportunities, people to know, and then, that helps you. It helps you build a resume, it helps you get more experiences, and, overall just make your application more well-rounded.
One thing we really encourage all students, whether they're intending to go to vet school or some other career direction, is to do internships. Of course, vet schools require a certain amount of involvement in shadowing veterinarians and working with animals, and that comes as part of the requirement. We also encourage those students to do some other internships outside of maybe the mainstream of what some of those veterinarians are going to provide. So getting into maybe some wildlife or some nature preserves or some zoological types of jobs are really something that they need to at least explore. The other two options, obviously, we're interested in trying to get them placed in animal science related jobs after they graduate. So it's important that they get some experience and have something on their resume. As far as faculty are concerned, we oftentimes get contacted by companies or operations that are looking for internship types of students, and we pass that on to the internship office, and they're able to notify all the students that there are some opportunities available. In addition to that, we for some students that we know are looking for internships that have spoken to us, we give them some leads on where they can apply and what needs to be done and when they need to apply for some of those internships. So it's collectively, we really are pretty aggressive trying to get students involved in the internship process, and we think it's very important.
Good. Hannah is wondering what % of your students get into vet school and which schools typically, and how does your pre-vet program stand out against others?
Do you know the percentage of people that get in?
I do know that. I'm going to give you some rough numbers, but roughly about 20% of our incoming freshmen will apply to vet school, and about 3/4 of those will actually get accepted at one school or more. So there's a pretty significant chunk of students that do not get in, and that's primarily because of grades. It's very competitive from a grade standpoint. The average GPA for acceptance is somewhere between 3.5 and 3.6. So that's important. For those students that get in, it's pretty widespread. There are 30 different vet schools in the United States, and we've had students accepted in all 30. So it kind of depends on where they're from, what state they're from, and what they're interested in doing. We encourage students to apply to schools if there is a vet school in their state, because of the in-state tuition. But for those students that come from a state that does not have a vet school, they have some other options. Most students apply to somewhere between 4 or 5 schools, and hopefully they'll get an acceptance in one or more of those schools. And it could be anywhere, depending on where they apply. So I wouldn't say we have any particular school, except for Ohio. We're the #1 feeder school outside of the university, or Ohio State University. So that's one area that a lot of our students are going to go to. But beyond that, there's probably not a specific vet school that we place students in, more than others.
And she's wondering what makes our pre-vet program stand out against others. So Caroline, let's have you answer this, since you probably looked at other schools before deciding on Findlay. So what made Findlay stand out?
The hands-on experience that you get. That's it. I don't think at any other school or any other program I would have the amount of experience that I do now. If I had gone to a big state school, I'm from Illinois, so if I'd gone to University of Illinois, I don't think I would have gotten the amount of experience that I have here at the University of Findlay. Also, whenever I've been having a difficulty in a class or anything like that, because of the smaller class size, I've always felt comfortable asking my instructors and my faculty for help, understanding something. And I think that too has probably helped me a lot, keeping the grades up.
Well, we have another question. Outlook on volunteer work when applying. So I think she's wondering, does volunteer work come into play when applying maybe here or maybe to vet school? Let's talk to both of those maybe.
Well, I think, volunteer work is always a plus. I think anybody likes to see that you can take time out of your busy life, your busy schedule, and donate it to others. Whether you're, taking a trip to fix up homes for people in need or just, volunteering out in the community. I think that's really important. And I like to think that, schools will like that too. What do you think?
Well, I think human nature is that if you give back, it is always a positive. I'm not sure that they have a criteria that says they need to have a certain percentage of your activities being volunteer work, but it certainly doesn't hurt to do it. But I would hope that if you're doing volunteer work, it's more than just trying to get something on your resume, that it means more to you personally than that. As far as getting it into the University of Findlay, obviously we want to see some activities, but you don't have any more advantage or any less advantage if you're doing volunteer work. But do it anyhow.
It's good.
We have another question. What are some examples of hands-on training? So maybe some specific examples of what you've done in class, Caroline, and maybe you can talk to some other options too.
Okay, well, I'm going to talk about freshman year again. Freshman year in food animal handling, you will obviously learn how to handle all of the animals, move them from pen to pen, which doesn't sound hard, but if you're like me and you hadn't really, handled these animals before, that's important to know. And then we will also perform a lot of castrations and a lot of dehornings. And so we'll walk you through all of that. And as we have babies being born out of the barn, we'll, process all of those and take care of them. And you'll get to, see them be born and grow up. And those will be the animals that we'll be castrating and working on, vaccinating, giving injections to. So for me, that's been really valuable because that's not experience that I would have gotten somewhere else.
And I think we start out kind of with a bang with the animal science program, with the animal handling courses, and all of those are really hands-on, whether taking blood or giving injections or trimming feed or whatever it might be. It's all pretty much hands-on. The sophomore level classes, the repro class and the nutrition class also has a component of hands-on. It's required portion of the class to be able to come out and feed. And with that, there can also be some other opportunities to give injections to help in the birthing process if we have cattle or sheep or pigs that are calving or birthing. So there's all kinds of opportunities for them to do that kind of work, either from a veterinarian standpoint or from a production standpoint.
Good. Okay, well, we are going to wrap up with one last question. This is my question for you guys before we head out to the barn here to take a look at the animals and the facility out there. What advice do you have for students who might be making their college decision right now?
Was that for me?
Both of you.
You can go first.
Well, if I'm to give advice, you need to study hard. Whether you're going to be in the pre-vet option or not, it doesn't really make a difference. If you study hard in high school, you'll certainly have some advantage when you go to college. As far as our program is concerned, I think that we provide some opportunities that other schools don't. Our program is based on having students involved with livestock. It's a teaching institution. We're not having animals here to do research with. They're here for the animals, or for the students to be able to do all kinds of activities with. And so I think that's what sets us apart from other programs, is that we have that hands-on component, but it's not just hit and miss. Nearly every class has some component.
Good. Okay. Well, we're going to take a little walk around the barn here. So I'm going to pick the webcam up. Bear with me here. It's going to be a little bumpy. So we are in the lobby right now. Behind us is Katie. Katie is an admissions counselor here at the University of Findlay. So we have a class coming out here right now. Say hi, everybody. You guys didn't know you were going to be on a webcam, did you? So Katie is going to take us through the barn and show us around. Yeah, let's go in the classrooms here first. We're going to take a look in the classrooms and see what kind of classes are here. So this is a classroom right out here at the barn. Right here in the same building facility with the animals. The animals are out in the barn area. This classroom is right off of that, so that makes it nice. Okay.
So this building is about 31,000 square feet. It was built in 2008. We started having classes here in 2009. We'll go out here. Ooh. All right. In here, we can kind of walk in here. This is our lab. We have a full lab. It's all kinds of equipment and things like that to help take care of our animals on a routine basis, as well as any emergency services. And kind of see, we also have a full pharmacy back there. So here are some coolers. We've got meat evaluation classes elected you can take here if you choose to do that. Here are some awards we've won with our show teams. Like Dr. McCarthy said, we've got a beef cattle show team as well as Southdown sheep team. So you can see we're doing pretty good. Watch the barn. It's going to be a little noisy, but
I guess you can't see those very well.
sorry. Pretend.
Now it's going to be loud out here, guys.
And we have students out here doing some training. A little to-do list. So students will pick a morning or an evening, and they'll come out here and help. In addition to their class time, we've got 2 barn managers that kind of help take care of the day-to-day stuff. In here is what's called our maternity room. It's also used as an isolation area. So you can this area in the beginning of the year will have hutches in them. We'll get some dairy cattle from local farms. They can also be used as a pen to kind of do an exhibit or something like that. These are some of our bulls. These are the low-line Angus cattle. So you can see this guy is not super tall. He's a little bit more of a stockier version. All of our animals are very handled though, so they're pretty tame. They're not typical bull behavior, but you'll learn kind of what to do and what not to do. Some younger animals.
Oh,
these are some of our dairy cattle, so we'll get these from local farms. We'll also go out to local farms and do preg checking, palpating, and things like that. We typically have 2 of each breed for our dairy production classes to see. These guys you can see have little wounds. They just got their horns taken off by our students. So just some more examples. We work with all of the different breeds and species and do all kinds of stuff. So. These guys are getting ready to go down to the expo that Dr. McCarthy talked about. These are some younger bulls. this over here, right here in the big blue thing is kind of a way for us to restrain animals, so that we can be safe when working with them, giving them shots or tagging them, or doing whatever we need to do. We do all kinds of things. We do some artificial insemination, stuff with embryo transfers and things like that. Throw sheep, which is basically a way of restraining them, so you can shear them or trim hooves. We'll get some cow calves, so you'll get to kind of experience that side of things. Kids, these guys are the cutest.
The goats.
So last year we had something kids and 70-something lambs, and we'll get them each semester so that all the students can see them. These guys have their horns removed, they got shots, tagged, they're very friendly. They still like us after all that. Show animals, you can tell their hair is nice and beautiful after all that stuff on their head.
They're show animals, is that what you said?
Yes. Yeah. So
Oh, they're
they
trimmed
look
very
clean.
nicely.
See, yeah, they're except for their heads. But so these guys will go down to the expo here in a week or so and compete. Everybody's quiet because they're eating. Like, kind of nice. Some of our bowls again. These are some of our lambs separated out. So they'll go back into our we also have alpacas, got a miniature donkey, we've got a bunch of horses that are farmed that are also we also can you like
Oh, it's back on again.
Hi. Do we go back out?
Yeah, let's go back out and see if we can get some more. Sorry, guys, we lost our connection out in the barn there.
Hopefully we don't lose it again.
Yeah, the wireless is really good in most areas of the barn. So I've gotten to the far end there and lost a connection.
This is a really exciting room. This is all of our animal science students bring black.